All right, everybody. So this is going to be a tutorial on how to, uh, let's just say how to do the wiring on the LEDs. So let me see here. I'm going to do a little drawing tab here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. And so what I'm doing is I'm referencing all the stuff that's this is the description page. This is description page and all these different links to different things. And this dude here, this dude's 11 and made himself a video. Nice work, Mini Mello. So shout out to Mini Mello. But all right, so check this out. So I'm going to use these links. I'm going to pull up items on Amazon. I pretty much got almost everything on Amazon, but this is going to be specifically for the power supply and lights. So I'm going to show you here. All right, so here's that 12 volt to 5 volt, if I can speak, converter. As you can see here, it's going to come in, it's going to come like this. And notice there's like these holes here. And then you're going to, you just take a small screwdriver and you screw these brackets on and kind of encapsulate it, I guess, to protect the circuit board or whatever. It's really easy. You just need a really small Phillips screwdriver and you're on your way. And then you're going to have the little plug there. That's for your 9 volt. That's going to go from the power supply, which I'm going to show you what that looks like here. I showed that in the other video, so I'm just going to reiterate. So that's going to go, you're going to use the USB connection is going to go from there into here. And then you're going to use the, on this side, you're going to have a USB plug to the, I guess it's called like a barrel plug. And it's going to look like this. So that's going to go from, so basically going to go from this USB with this extension, which I already got listed here. Let's see, male to male extension. So you can take this, you're going to plug that into, let me get the other one. Let's see. 12 volt DC jack. Yep, this one here. So that's going to go into the battery pack. Bloop, right there. The other end, this end, is going to go into this end. And then the USB extension is going to go from, let's see here, which one is it? Is it this one? Nope. See, I already got it backwards. You're going to go from this, that's the 9 volt. This is already the USB. So that's going to go straight into the, remote from here using this cable, battery pack. This end goes into the remote. Then the other one, you're going to use 9 volt here, plug in this little right here. That is going to go into this thing here. And then you're going to use the USB cord, that's going to go into that. And then this is going to go into that, let's call it a splitter, this thing here. There's so many, you don't need this many, but it's going to go in here. And then you're going to run your extra power leads and negative lead directly from this to your other leads that are kind of run parallel that are going to go down the line of the LED cable. And I think that's that. Let me see here where where the LED remote is this here. Yep, so that's going to plug into here, into the LED remote. It's going to go in the LED remote, and then it's going to go, and you're going to cut this here. You're not going to use this plug. You're going to cut this, take that right off, and make sure I put it in this like here. Maybe I put it here at the bottom. Or maybe I think I added it later in a different video. Yeah, this is like the very first video. So we're going to go to, let me go here. We're going to go to a more current video, which I guess I should have done that to begin with. Nope. We're going to go to number 16 because this is probably what you're looking at. By the time you're here, this is what we're looking at. And let's see. Yep, this thing here, this signal repeater. Again, you're going to need 2 of these. And so see these orange right here? This right here. And so when you cut these 3 cables, cut it, strip it back to, I don't know, a 1/4 inch. You really don't need much. Can you get your little bitty screwdriver? I didn't put those in the link. I guess I could put like a little bitty screwdriver set. Hey, why not? I'll do it. Or if somebody finds one on Amazon, you're like, hey, dude, this is what would fit. Then comment below with a link to whatever that is, and I'll update these in the future. And then you're going to put, so this is your red power line. This is the green one coming out of here. Remember, there's red, green, white. Green goes in here, and then the white is considered ground. And so that's going to go in here. So where your motors are over here, cut the lines off, plug those in here. And then there's a, let me see if I get a better picture of the side view. Yeah, then right here is where that power supply is going to come off after it leaves, after it's going to come out of here. So this one, it probably doesn't matter, but this one's going to use a lot more juice, and you want to run, hold on, reverse that, sorry. The one that's not using as much power, the one that's going to go through the 5-volt little drop-down thing, the little converter, this thing, you're probably like, why weren't you prepared for this? Well, I'm telling you, I'm not like a professional guy as far as this is concerned. I'm just trying to be helpful. So I wouldn't recommend running a lot of power through this. It might not matter. Itself, the signal that's going to go into, it really doesn't matter either way. The one that's the power that's going in here, you don't want to run a lot of power. You don't want this to be your main power line, if that makes sense. Because you don't want to burn this thing up, pulling a lot of wattage or volts or amps or whatever the heck it is. And so the one that I used was the one that had the power. It really doesn't matter. Either one, because you're both going to end up with this socket. But the one that's going to have like your main power lead, whichever one you decide coming out of here, whichever one you decide, just make sure you just want to use one. I'm probably confusing myself now. You just want to have one of these that's juicing the power supply, the remote, and then one of them is juicing the end that has that connection on it, this one on it. That makes sense. I'm going to draw it out here in a sec, so it makes sense. And that's kind of the gist as far as what's going on. So let me kind of draw this out. And this is going to be like very basic, but it'll get the point across. So let me get some more artwork tools over here. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible to understand. So let's say we're going to start with, I'll do a rectangle for our battery. So let's just say this is going to be your battery. And that font, you won't be able to read. You can't read it either when it's white. All right. So this is your battery. All right. So then and I'm going to draw this real slick. Again, I'm trying to make the point. So you're going to have your Why is this not drawn? Oh, let's try that again. You're going to want to have, you're going to have 2 lines coming out. Okay. This one here, let's say this is going to be your, this is your 9-volt. I'm just going to call that round. That's your round. That's your, it's labeled right on the thing. It's, you know, it's pretty obvious. And then the other one is going to be, let's just say that this one here, that's going to be your USB. Make that really obvious because that's your 5-volt. All right. So 9-volt, I shouldn't even put this line here. 9-volt, and then the USB, this is 9-volt round, USB 5. All right, so you need to use, so 5-volt has to be everything. And you might not even, yeah, I guess you need to do this because you need to get 2 different lines coming out of here. And maybe there's a different way to do it. I think there's other guys that do something different, but this is what I did. So I'm just doing it exactly how I did it. And so here, so the first thing we're going to do is that little rectangular thing, and we're going to call that, let me change the font on this. This is going to be your 9-volt to 5-volt. Let me make sure that 12-volt to 5-volt. Yeah, okay, so it's 9 to 36. So if you're like, you're not doing 12 to 5, it's 9 to 36. I knew I had that right. So 9-volt stick comes in here. There's a little red light that lets you know it's working. And then that's going to come out. And this is going to go to your, let's just call this your remote. All right. And so this is your, as far as which cable you're using, this is basically your 1-foot male to male cable. That's what this thing is right here. This cord is your USB. This is your USB to, I'm just going to call it round for folks that are not wanting to be all technical. Watch how I do this, trying to make this easy to read. All right. So this is your USB to round cable. You know, this rectangle cable. It's come out of there. This is your round 9-volt. Plug it into here. This is your USB, and there's 2 USB spots, but this is basically your USB to round. It's probably called 5-volt or 9-volt. I'm sure it's got some technical term. Let's just see what it says. This one, your DC power. This barrel right here. Barrel. I'm just going to call it round because I'm the one doing the video. so that's the one. And then this is your remote. And now the remote's going to plug into, it's going to plug directly into your, we're going to call this the repeater because that's what I, repeater / booster. That's what this thing is right here. All right, so now he's trying to get it. And then this is going to be your, let's extend this down here a little bit. This is going to plug into the, what do you call it? The green round, we'll call it plus and minus because that's what's labeled. And all these have like technical terms, but I'm not trying to be technical. I'm just trying to be helpful. I mean, I'm trying to make this like as easy as possible because it took me serious research to figure out how to do this. And so that's going to plug into this little weird doohickey thing here. It's got plus and minus on it. All right. So hopefully that got to give you some idea of what's going on here. And then you're going to have all these little, you're going to have like 3 things here, like these little, you're going to have 2 things here. Again, this is not scale. This is so jacked up, but you're going to have these, you know, these things here that look like, or is this probably this first one? Yeah, these things here. And so the signal coming out, you're just mirroring when you get to doing your wires, ground, ground, control. Maybe that's what CIN stands for. I'm not sure. But the 3 that go in here mirror the 3 that go in each one of these. And it's going to duplicate. These are all output. It's going to duplicate the signal coming out. And what you really just need coming out of here is this middle one, because that's your signal. But what I did, and maybe it was overkill, but I don't care. I ran all 3 of the USB lines when I was doing a new row of LEDs. I ran all 3 into here. The light, which I referenced in one of the videos, is going to be dim, but at least you know it's connected, and you're going to notice the signal's working because you're going to see the pattern, you know, trying to go through, but the light's going to be very dim. But that's just to get you going. All right, so now we're back here. So let's do this. Open up another screen here. All right, so we have these, and so this, now we're going to get into your, let's see, we're going to take then, so remember this, you're going to have a whole bunch of lines coming off of like one side of this, and a whole bunch of lines coming off one side of this. Again, one's the positive, one's the negative. That's all you care about, because the green one, the signal, is really all you want come out of here. But, you know, and what I did here was I had one coming out, and then I created like a little hub. And so instead of doing what I just showed you, watch, I'll show you what I did. So let's just say, again, you can do whatever you want. But I had one line coming out just from, it just worked out that way. And then I had like a little ball of solder. Then I splintered off, you know, when I was going to connect to my different wires. And then I did the same here. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know, and it was my wiring job, as you might have saw from the previous video, was all jacked up, but it works. So who cares? All right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how I did the wires. So let's just say, this is our helmet, and this is totally jacked up eyeballs. This doesn't look anything like this. Just to give you an idea, I would start at the top. I started at the bottom. I wish I didn't do that. Should have started at the top. And so you're going to get your strand of LEDs, and there's going to be arrows on. And it literally took 5 rolls. Now, you don't need to put that many rolls on there, but as you know, that's what I want to do. I want to pack them in there. All right, so when you're wiring, and this is just for example's sake, I would cut, so I opened the strand, and I wrapped it around the outside just to give me an idea. And it's going to take more LEDs to wrap the outside than inside, because the inside, even though it might be slightly smaller, is a little bit smaller. Now, you can use your tape measure, like I referenced in, I believe, the first video. Go in there and kind of get a good idea. But basically, you want to get your first measurement, and this is also what I did not do, and you should definitely do this, is take your LED wires, get your first measurement, stick it up inside, and say, okay, that's it. make a note of that. Write it down, measure it out, get your tape measure, measure out what it is. But you're going to want to measure it and add an additional LED. So add at least one of these to the strand. So let's just say, just for display's sake, let's just say this example right here, this length was the total length you needed to go one. Let's say this is the top of the helmet. Just ignore everything here, but just let's say this is the inside of the helmet, and you're going to run this along the inside. Push it in there. I used painter's tape, like blue painter's tape, something that wasn't too sticky. And I would recommend stripping the back side. Such a pain. So then I had to like very carefully, on the back side of this, kind of start to tear the sticky part off. And then once you get a grip on it, you can just strip the whole strip of sticky tape that's on the back, and then it's a lot easier to manage. If you leave the tape on, I'm fearful that it probably won't matter. Because this side is gonna get the glue gun that's gonna be sticking to the outside. So back to what I was saying. So let's just say this, just for example, is enough to go all the way around and touch literally end to end, or very close to end to end. You don't want to be short, or you're gonna have a gap. You can be over, and that's fine. So, but then whatever it is close to being end to end, if not a little bit over, then add one additional one of these on each side. And here's the trick that I learned. You're going to want to take your soldering iron, and pretend this is cut right here along the line. And you're going to want to, cut right here at the line. And then you're going to take your soldering iron and take a dab of the solder, stick it on the end of the soldering iron just by itself, just kind of heat it up and get it stuck to the soldering iron. And then gently, carefully, meticulously touch right here, really slow. And this needs to heat up to bond. I believe this is copper. It needs to bond to the copper. Again, no other wire. You're not doing any wiring, just to get, think of it like glue. You're going to just tap it right here to where the solder is stuck. And then you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to do the same thing here. And what you do not want to do, and you cannot do, and you can always remove it if you do this, is the solder cannot touch these two together. If you do, your signal won't work, because you're going to be jumping the signal between this two, and it's going to be messing up your strand. I did it countless times because this is really small, and it's tedious. You can do, you just have to be careful. You got to take your time and put like a light, don't put too much solder on, just enough to, put a little pressure here and warm it up a little bit, let it grab. And then what I was doing, instead of lifting up, I would kind of lift it either this way or I drag it, not drag, but kind of slowly lift it off this way. This way was actually a little bit better. And that'll kind of leave a little stream of solder. And then you're good. And come back here and come back here. If by chance you're like, oh man, I messed this up, then what I would do is clean off the solder. Make sure the soldering iron comes with a sponge, and you're going to want to use that. Every time you put solder on there and you're done, get the sponge. Make sure the sponge is wet. I had like a cup of water there. Make sure it was really wet, and kind of drag the soldering iron over the sponge and get it wet, and try to get the excess solder off. You just want to kind of keep using the clean amount of solder, and I think that will help the soldering iron itself last longer, because I went through a couple different soldering tips, not knowing what the heck I was doing. And but if you get too much on here, then you're going to want to warm it up, and then get the blue thing that comes in the pack that it's in there. You'll see what I'm talking about. And you just kind of hold it over this. You put the soldering iron. This turns like liquidy. While it's in liquid form, take the soldering iron, the blue thing, that's like a solder sucker, hold it right to where the extra solder is, hit the button, and it's going to snap, and it's going to suck the extra solder right off there. And you might have to do it a couple times, and then you get it back clean again, and then start from scratch. All right, so you're going to do, I'd say 5 inches. This is probably pretty good. 5 inches of your wire. And you can literally take your fingernail and pick the I'll show you, where is it? LED wires, this stuff here. At first I was thinking you needed to, no, that's not it. It was the LED wire, silicone wire, this one. So you're going to take this wire and you literally, it's so easy. I mean, you just take your fingernail and you just pick off, I'm talking like a quarter of an inch, a very short piece. Another trick is take your finger and twist this up so it's kind of, you know, it's tight. Because if it's frayed, you're going to get to a situation where you're trying to glue this. And you'll have a fray touching over here and it'll jack your signal all up. So that's another little trick. So spin it, you know, get a little quarter inch, you know, not half an inch. Like you don't want much. You don't want a whole bunch of extra wires available for, you know, shortening your circuit. Just a real small, because your solder is going to grab really easily. Oh, another trick is, so once you spin this to look like this, see how this is not spun and this is spun tight? Spin it kind of, you know, a little snug like this. And then you're going to take your solder, again, put a little dab on the end of the soldering iron, and you're going to lightly, almost like you're going to brush it. You don't want to glob it on. You just kind of want to brush it just a little bit so it kind of, for lack of a better word, glues or solders these together so it's one piece. So that's trick number 2 that I learned the hard way. And so then you're gonna come back and you could pick any color you want. It has no bearing on this whatsoever. This is just for your internal purposes. There was a lot, I was getting ready to run out. I did the whole thing with this whole roll. I did not need additional rolls. So you can do the whole helmet with 1500 LEDs like I did with one roll. It gets really close. You don't want to waste it, but I was able to do it. And then you're going to take, you know, if you want to match it with the green, but you're going to run out of colors. You can't just pick 3 colors and you're on your way. But whatever works for it, doesn't matter. And so then you're going to take this and you're going to hold it right here. And what I did is I taped this to like the table I was working on. And I put the solder, the wire here, and I laid it right. You can pretend this is cut right here. And I laid it right, like just barely over, like not all the way, but just barely. And I had to tape, because this is really small stuff. And then I taped the wire here. So I put a piece of painter's tape over this, painter's tape over this, and this is nice and, you know, flush. And then I put the solder, again, same thing. I didn't put the soldering wire to this. I just put the soldering, I melted a little bit on the soldering iron. And being that you now already have solder here and you have solder on your wire, all you're going to do is come over here and gently put a little bit of heat, and you already have a little bit of solder stuck to the end of the soldering iron. You're going to put a little bit of heat right here, and what's going to happen is you're going to grab the solder that's already here, the solder that's already on the wire, and it's going to mend these two together. And here's another best practice. Once you do that, I just blow on it. It takes a couple seconds, and it's not even hot anymore. But then kind of wiggle it with your fingers, not real hard, but just to feel like if it's stuck on there good, because sometimes it's not going to be on there very good. And you, as sure as you know what, you're going to be gluing this thing to the inside, and which I experienced, and the signal started crackling and not being good. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I either had to pull the whole dang thing out, or I had to get in there like a contortionist and try to like wire this thing that's stuck in there. And it was a big pain. So just make sure when you stick it in, you know, here and you're soldering it, it's nice and tight. Check your bonds. It's much easier to pull it off and put it back on there. And I even saw another video. Don't put super glue over this right here, because I think the heat from the super glue weakens the bond, even though you're thinking it's going to do something else. I think it weakens the bond, and then it's just a bad thing. All right. So you put your wires all the way along. So then what you do is you come over here and you want to, so to start out, and you're probably like, why do I have this extra one? Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to get some, use some black electrical tape, or just black electrical tape's fine, or black duct tape. I got Gorilla Tape halfway through and it's too strong. It was a pain in the butt to work with, but just like cheap black duct tape. And you're going to cut a little piece, and you want to cover this side, and then on the reverse side, I don't know if there's a picture of the reverse side. You can see, I'll show you that in a sec. On the reverse side, you can't see because the tape's here. You're going to want to put a piece of the black tape on the reverse side to hide, because these three little lines are on the exact same spot on the back. And I guess if you left the backing on it, it wouldn't matter, but maybe it would. But I just put a piece of black tape there because what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to fold. So you got the wires coming this way. You got about 5 inches. You're going to take the whole thing. You're going to fold it. So you want the wires. The wires are coming this way now. This way, it's on the back side of this. You're going to fold this over on itself. And that's going to allow you to, and basically what's going to happen is you're going to be able to, when you bring these two wires together, you're going to have a folded section. Imagine this is fold over right there. This section, then this is your very first row and there's nothing here. And you're going to fold this over on the back side. You just don't want these to touch the back side of this. And so I put a little piece of black tape right there. So when you fold it over, it wasn't sitting on anything. Same thing here. So you fold this over, except this side's got the wires. It's going to go this way. And then you're going to take this and you're going to stick it up on the inside of this. And I put the glue, the hot glue. When I first started out, I just put a globs, just like glob of hot glue here, here, here. And I probably did like, I don't know, 5 or 6 spots at a time. Glue, 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 glue. I stuck it up in there. I was blowing on it to make sure it'd stick. And if you get some on the light, which happened with me, these things are pretty durable. I was actually pretty surprised. It didn't damage it at all. And so you're going to want to glue that up and kind of go all the way around. And then when you come to the end, here's your wires. Now here's the arrows that show the direction that you want. Now, if you're going to do like I did and you want to have directions going one way and then halfway down go the other way, I would recommend 15 rows at the top and 14 on the bottom. As you can see from my previous video, I didn't get that number to match up because I just made a mistake, but you get to learn from my mistakes. It's your preference, but to make it as even as possible, you're going to be able to do 29 rows if you're doing them as stacked as I am. And so that would be your first row. Now you're probably thinking, okay, I have this 5 inside the top of this, this helmet. Up here, I have these 3 rows. Imagine this is on the inside, and I need to connect them to the next strand. How am I going to do that when, are you saying I got to reach all the way in here and solder this? No. So when you first start going, I would recommend, measuring this out exactly, so you know exact length, and then you're just going to, imagine this is one LED strand. And then you got your 3 lines coming off it. And then you got your next one. And then you got your 3 lines coming off it. And so once you get the measurement of the width or the length, then you're going to do that outside of the helmet. And I would do at least 3 strands. I have to check my video, how many I get before I get to the top of the eyes. And obviously that first strand, you're going to, that's what I forgot to mention. You're going to want to run power. That's what I didn't mention. So the first strand, going back a little bit. So the powers, see how the arrows are going this way? This is going to be your main power. This is going to be your very start to your power. So you're going to have to run a power line. I'd say make it 12 inches, something kind of long. So if it's coming out, so if it's coming out here, these 3 lines going in here, and they go up and they're going to connect to this. I guess I could have gone there. Just because you want to have your main power supply like outside, so you're not like reaching inside the helmet like I was having to do a lot. And that's going to go to your first one, and you want that juiced up and plugged in because you want to make sure your connection's good. So you have your repeater, this thing right here, and you're gonna and you can pick any one of these you want. Let's just say it's this one. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to go to your very first LED strand. It's got your LEDs on it. And this is going to go at the top. Okay, so I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but this is not meant to be, step by step, but it is kind of. And then so you have this row here. But again, don't cut this off and just kind of let it hanging. Get it lit, measure it. All right, sweet, it works. And then say, okay, now let me do my next strand. Connect that, and you're going to come back to here, and you're going to take your next strand, and you're going to connect the 5 lines off the last strand to this strand, same exact length. You don't worry. You really don't need to worry about folding these over. Right now, just know you have 2 that you're not going to need. Oh, and side note, when you do finally put it in there and fold it back over, I put a piece of black duct tape on top of this so it wasn't shining inside. It really doesn't matter because once you put the interior stuff on it, like I'm going to show in the next video, then it's not going to matter. But I just did it because that's just what I was doing. So then you're gonna, so then you get your main leads coming in here, connected here. You have your 5-inch extent leads coming off here. You're gonna go to your next wire, connect here, and do it like that in the steers. And I'd probably do 3, or however many. I think you have to look at the other video. However many it's going to take to get down to the top of the eyeballs. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to get to a strand and you're going to connect these 3, and then something's going to happen. What's going to happen is it's not going to light, or it's going to light maybe like the first 3, and you're going to be like, well, what the heck? Do I have a short? Why didn't I light this one? That's when this little trick starts to happen. So let's say you have your 3 lines going off here. Remember these I was telling you about? And you get to here, and let's just say you have, this is strand 1, strand 2, strand 3. And so your main, just for funsies, let's go over here and say all 3 of these lines are going to this one. And then inside the helmet, these are going to be, you're going to be stacking these. So it's really not as long because when you go up to the next row, it's like right there. It's going to continue. So that's the only reason why you need 5 inches. But just so you understand, then you're going to come over here and get to this one. So let's just pretend this is, again, it's not to scale. And this looks like a whole bunch of jacked up wires, but you get the point. This is going to be LED strand 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to add this next one, and it's not going to light. You got it connected here. So whenever you get to that point and it's not lit, then this is what you got to do. You got to take your repeater, and you're going to send 3 more signals. Again, I said you don't need to do this, but this is what I did. So you send 3 more signals to the next row that's up. And then you need to get that juiced. You need some extra power. So then you take this, let's just say this is the minus and this is the plus. And there's a plus. Again, this little repeater's got a plus, as I said in the last part of the video, a plus and minus in the middle one, which is your data, your signal. And so this is the minus. And so you're just going to splice into, let's just say this is the negative. You're going to splice it in there. Doesn't even need to look pretty. A little trick is you don't need to cut this. You don't need to cut it. Take your fingernails, put them together, and stretch. And this wire is so convenient. It just pops free. Give yourself about 1 inch of just exposed wire. Literally my fingernails, and I keep my fingernails really short. You're just going to just pull, use your fingernails, just get a little of a grip. You're going to expose the wire. It's not cut, it's not frayed, not anything. I gave myself, I ripped off about an extra inch from, let's just say this is your, so I got a little bit longer here, and I took this and I wrapped it around my, this main lead, and then I just put a whole bunch of solder on it. I just took the soldering iron, I went in there and like just gooped it all up so it gripped it and it was not going anywhere. I just mended it into like one big piece of metal. Did the same thing here. So then I took this one, come around, and I went to this wire. Let's just say this is the positive one. Strip it, just popped it apart with my fingers, put some weld on it, and boom. And it is, and you're going to keep this power on because you want to make sure you're making progress. What you will see happen is this will all of a sudden get bright. When you run this first wire, it'll start working, but it's not very bright. As soon as you connect these, boom. And I do it on the white color on the remote just to make sure I can see that the color is maxing out. If by chance you cross the lines and you put a negative and the positive, vice versa, the lines will just go black. I mean, the lights will turn off. I don't think you're going to break anything. I didn't break anything. It just messes up the signal, causes a short, and the lights don't work. And so you're like, oh, well, I got my lines crossed, and you got to switch. So here's where it gets kind of tricky. When you put this to get your pattern to be kind of flowing like at a diagonal, like on Marshmello's some of his videos, and I kind of referenced in some of mine. Since you're not continuing this signal through this, and you're jumping off of here, this pattern might get broke going to here. It might not, but it probably will be from what I remember. So what you do is you give yourself, a little bit extra room. I would say, maybe 10 inches, 10 inches of extra wiggle room. And what you want to do is so you get your first row here. Again, looks so bad. But let's say your pattern starts here. Let's just say you're going this way, and the pattern's going this way, and then you hold up. Now you may not have don't glue it in there. Maybe get to a point where you've glued, 3 strands. You're like, oh sweet, it looks good, and you're putting them in there. And if I say 5 inches and it's off, forgive me, but it should be pretty close. But when you glue the second strand, make sure the pattern, and I would use the remote, and I would change the pattern towards like a flowing pattern so you can see how it's going to start to look. And so let's say the pattern starts here, and then you put this next row up and you put it, right here end to end, and it's off, then just slide it forward or slide it back until you have the stackable pattern, if that makes sense. And so if you want that diagonal kind of flowy look, which looks better on the top section compared to the bottom section of my helmet, just because I got frustrated, you're going to want to do that. And if you give yourself maybe a little bit extra room, don't quote me on the 5 inches. You might start off a little bit longer, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then you just kind of hold it up in the helmet with it going, with the pattern going. You're like, okay, it's jumping down. I wanted it to jump down to like one behind, and so I put the next one as one behind, one behind, one behind. So it's like this diagonal flow going in, let's say, this direction, and then you glue it up there, whoosh, and go all the way around and do the next one. And then so when you go back to this pattern, you're going to want to, because this is not going to flow, because you're going to run the line directly from here, and so the pattern is duplicating what came off of here. And so you want to get that pattern to be right, you might need a little bit more space. And so the starting of your wire might be back here because of the pattern disruption, if you will. So when the ... hits, by the time it hits here, it's in that perfect diagonal. And it's just trial and error. But if you give yourself more room with the extra wires, when you go to glue it in there, then that gives you a little more play. If you only give yourself a couple inches, you can only move it a couple inches or a couple inches back and forth, and then you're like, well, you're kind of committed to that pattern. So you might start off with 10 inches, and you'll just have extra wire in there. And then what I did is I just took some black duct tape and I just smashed it against the inside of the helmet, just to keep it out of the way after I did it. And to go back to this, so when you get to that second, grouping, fold the wire over, and then you can get it really, really close to the back side of this. This is folded over, because if you don't, you have wires coming here, you have wires coming here, and then they can't really touch because the wires are facing each other. You know what I'm saying? So when you fold the wires back on each other, this end here and this end here is actually the end, and it's clean. And so you can put it right up to this. Here's another trick. And because you're probably wondering, oh wow, you mean the LEDs are a perfect fit, so when you go all the way around, they are they perfectly butt up to each other here? No, they don't. Learn that the hard way because I made it too short the first time, and I'll go back and fix it. What you can do is you have a little bit longer. You want to be a little bit longer than shorter, especially when you don't have the eyes to work around or the mouth. What you can do is you can kind of crinkle this up a little bit. So just imagine this is the inside of the tube, the helmet. And then this is your LED. What you can do is you can crinkle it up like that a little bit to shorten the length. And I had to do that in a couple of spots. And I was afraid I was going to damage the LED, but I'll tell you I'll show you where I did it. But that allows you to kind of, if you need to make up a couple, half, not like a whole inch, but like, I don't know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch to get the LEDs to get really, really, really close. And so the pattern looks pretty good. You don't even notice it on the helmet for the most part, because it's such a slight change. And what you do is you fold it here. You give it a little bit of crease going up. I mean, this is the face. This would be, imagine, stuck to, this is looking at you as if it's looking at the helmet. It's facing out. And so you're going to, protrude this little triangle in just a little bit and then glue it down and then hold it up. And then if it gets end to end, and you're like, okay, sweet, I got it. And then but then you got to make sure, because this is going to be folded over. You're going to want to put a piece of electrical tape here and here, because if these are pushed up against each other, you don't want this signal touching this signal, or that will mess some things up. But you're just talking about laying like a little bitty piece over this just to block this copper strip here. And so you just do that. You just kind of duplicate that all the way down. When you get to the eyes, that's another thing. This space in between here, holy mackerel, that was a pain in the butt. And so what I did is I took a grouping. I kind of counted out how many LEDs I wanted, depending on the space between the eyes. I laid them out on the table, and because I wasn't too concerned with it, and technically you'd want to run your line here and go here and then go, and then continue on over the eyes. But you only really need the data line. You only need the green line, the middle line, because what you can do is you can run a designated power line, and you can let's say the signal's going, let's say it's going this way. It's going to the left. The only really line you need, the wire coming here, is to hit the middle one. But then the positive and negative coming off of this, what you can do is you can connect them to the other wires or the LEDs that are here as well. Let's say these are LEDs, and you can kind of run them in series. And you can just do this. And then all you need to do is run, a power line. Pretend this is on the inside, obviously, to your positive and then your negative, and then your data line is jumping around. And so you're only having to run an extra wire around these eyeballs, and then over to the next one. And then you're fine with that. That will save you some unnecessary wires going above and beyond. I learned that the hard way, going around the mouth, and it was like, oh man, I got so many extra wires running around here. Just totally unnecessary. Or if you're just like, it's close enough, just pick, wire these all together and then run one power, one negative, and one data. Have it come like from one of these over here, so it's kind of like in order, not like down here. And so when the signal jumps from here to here, these flash in the same pattern, and then the pattern goes from here to the next, and it keeps that in order. And depending on the pattern, you probably won't even notice. Like if this is green, red, green, you may not notice as much. But if you really want to do it right, you want to data to each grouping of LEDs and then skip to the next. Another little trick to save you some time, because I was just getting frustrated, is if this is your, so bad. Let's just say this is your eye. My eyes are actually blocked out from up, like about halfway up, because your eyes is going to be down in this lower portion. So I just ran the wires across the eyes. and I put black tape all over like the so I couldn't see it. I put black tape over it so it wouldn't shine through, because you got the 20% tint. That's if that's what if you're doing it the way I did it, and you couldn't see it, because it's just black. And then because then I didn't have to worry about cutting it and soldering. And so about halfway, I said, oh well, no big deal. And I just ran it right over the lights that are like in the middle here. I made those exposed, glued that down. I didn't obviously glue these that are over the lights. I actually did a little trick I'll show you later, where I took some of the foam padding that is running on the inside liner, which I'll show you in the next video. I trimmed it out and cut it to fit, and I fished it underneath these wires here, and just to make sure this was totally blacked out. You couldn't see any of the LEDs through the eyeballs. And it turned out pretty good. It was a pain in the butt, but it turned out pretty good. When you get down to the mouth, unless you're doing a grill, the grill version with like the speaker grill material, which some people use. Marshmello uses it because he wants to be able to talk through it sometimes when he's doing his thing. But if you're using tint, then you have no reason. There's absolutely no reason to trim the lights. I learned that the hard way. No reason to cut the lines and run extensions over here. Run them straight over the mouth. I mean, obviously your tint's there, you're not going to see it. Black them out with a couple layers of electrical tape, which is what I did. Probably 2 layers, and wrapped around the light, and you can't see it. So I just kind of made sure. I just went all the way down. I looped it around. You can't see it, and so then I was able to get the light as close as I wanted to the mouth without showing through. Because I've seen some masks where like the lights like stopped and there's like this big black, it's like dark area. And in some of Marshmello's videos, the lights are run really close up to the edge. So that's what I wanted to do. And I used the black foam sheets that I referenced in the description, I think, or at least I'll do it in the next video, where I just fit that in there. And another thing, and I haven't mentioned this yet, is I would take and again, I'll show this more in the next video because we're getting kind of into this. I would take that black foam material that I'm going to reference in the next video. Take your outline that you cut out, and then cut that out. And then, like for your mouth, it really doesn't matter. You just fit it in there, and you got it sealed. But around the eyes, I would take and do an outline around the whole eyes, and stick it right to the edge with the black facing forward. So that prevents the light, the LEDs. So if the LED is kind of close here, it puts like a I don't know what you call it. Like it just blocks the view. If you got an LED that's really close to light, it blocks the view of seeing this light at an angle because it puts like this little seal all the way around. And I'll show that in the next video so it makes a little bit more sense. But that's kind of it, So you go down about halfway, and then you're running. You just keep putting these more lights in, and then you're like, oh, I lost a signal. Come right over here. Run your 3 lines. Come over here. You run another positive. Splice it. Negative. Splice it. Boom. It goes. If it's you do it on the white, it'll go bright. Again, like I saw in the last video, if all of a sudden these start flashing, that means you're pulling too much electricity. And then get your remote and reduce the signal slightly till it stops, and then go on your next one. And yours will look a lot better than mine. Get all the way down to about 15 rows. So and try to keep them pretty level. That's kind of a challenge, keeping them all level, and then go down and then flip your. If you're doing it the way I would do it my second time, then I would take my second repeater. So this whole battery setup and everything is for the top. I mean, if you're wanting to wear this thing for hours, I would suggest using 2 batteries. And so that would be like this whole top section. Then you're going to take this exact same setup, everything, another battery, all these wires, a second remote, second repeater, all the stuff. If you want to have that pattern where you have 2 different colors, one on the top, one on the bottom, you want to have that sort of a mix and match pattern option. And then you're going to run the wires just in the opposite direction, using the, so you're going to take this and just flip it. So the arrows are going this way, and just start lining those up and kind of going all the way down till you get down the bottom. But the exact same setup with this here. And then if you're wondering, like, well, how do you get two different remotes to run on? How do you use one remote for one wireless remote for two of these things? Well, what you do is you hold down on your remote, the W, the white, hold it down for like 5 seconds, and all of a sudden you'll have both of them going. You'll see both groups of lights. You'll see the top. Basically, after you get down to when you start the next row, you'll see both flash, and that means they've disconnected the signal. And then you're going to hold the green button down, and you'll see them both flash. And once they're done flashing, that means they've accepted the new wireless remote, your radio frequency remote. Turn the power off on the remote, turn it back on. I think that locks it in, and now you're good. And then when you hit the power button on the remote, both turn on. You change the frequency or the signal, the pattern. They're both going to change. So hopefully that helps. Got any questions, comment below. And I'll post another video pretty soon, kind of showing you what I did with the foam inserts. I'm gonna get ready to do the helmet insert, and then I'm gonna do the very last thing is gonna be. I'm gonna strip it and repaint the damn thing. But besides that, there's that little shroud that goes around his neck, so you can't. So if you look up, somebody can't easily see your chin, basically. It's going to be sort of a little shroud and you'll see why I definitely have to have that because of all the unnecessary wiring I did, which you shouldn't have to do when you do that. And then I'll show you how I'm mounting the batteries on the inside. Where I put the 5-volt, imagine this is those little 5-volt converters, the 9-volt to 5-volt. I have them above the eyes, mounted here on the inside because you're gonna have some space up there. And then I haven't mounted the batteries yet, but they're gonna be on the left and right. Hopefully, they're not too big because it's kind of tight in there. The way I had to redo a whole bunch of stuff. And we'll talk to you soon.